Perhaps you have said, man, my horse needs a blanket. I feel sorry for my little horse standing out in the pasture. This video is for you. I'm going to talk about when you need a blanket, what kind of blanket to pick, and what size of blanket you should get. So the first step in finding a blanket for your horse is, do I even need a blanket? So statistics show, or studies have shown, that a horse's metabolism starts to increase at below around the mid 50 degree Fahrenheit temperature. So and that is wind chill included. So if it's very windy and mid 60s, it'll probably be in the 40 degree wind chill. So wind chill included, if it is below the mid 50s, your horse will start to begin to get cold and their metabolism will raise to try to stay warm. And so when temperatures get below the 50 degree-ish range, whether they're outside or inside, that was when you should consider putting a blanket on your horse. So step 2 is, what kind of blanket should I get my horse? At our store, we carry the 2 most common horse blankets, which are going to be stable blankets and turnout blankets. So a stable blanket is going to be for horses in a stable, of course. So a stable blanket is going to be a little bit warmer blanket. Think of like a fleece jacket. It is a little bit warmer than maybe a raincoat, but it is not necessarily waterproof or water resistant. So it will have a little bit of water resistance capabilities. It's not going to just soak up water like a fleece jacket would, but that is not what a stable blanket is for. It is usually a thicker blanket that just keeps the horse warm, but it's not necessarily for being outside. Very different from that is going to be the turnout blanket. A turnout blanket is going to be more of that shell material, so it's going to be a waterproof material. It also has a tail cover and things like that to help the horse stay water resistant outside, but it's not necessarily going to be very warm. Now, you can buy all different levels of denier, so you can do a 1200D or 600D blanket, and the higher up you go, the warmer the blanket is. So that just kind of depends on which blanket you buy. But those are the 2 differences between those 2. Now, finally, step 3 is going to be, when you go to a store or when you go to buy a blanket online, how do I know which size blanket to get? So that's what we'll talk about finally. So on the horse, you can see this blanket fits a little bit snugly. You don't want the blanket to be too tight, but you also don't want it to be real floppy because a leg or a shoulder can get caught into the blanket. So what you're going to see when you go to find a blanket size is anywhere from 68 typically to the 80s are going to be the inches that you'll see. So 68, 70, 72, 74, they usually go by odd or even numbers depending on the blanket manufacturer. And what you're going to do is, when you find a center point on your horse's chest, you'll measure around the side of the horse and go to the tail. That measurement is going to be the amount of inches that you need on your blanket. So if you find that your horse is 70 inches, your horse will probably be able to fit anywhere from a 68 to a 72 blanket. So measure that distance from the center of the chest to the tail around the side of the horse, not over the top, around the side, and that will be the size blanket that you should get.